best friends called me today to tell me that she killed her husband.
I'm a savage. Yeah. Classy.
Chanel needs an attorney who's in domestic violence cases. Corey Cash is one trial away from becoming a household name.
If it ain't about the money, then you know I'm gonna ignore it.
One of the things about Chanel and Jax is they've been friends since they were kids, and they have shared kind of intimate moments with each other that they only know about. So that bond is a really strong bond. But this season, Jax learns things that she didn't really know about Chanel, and the audience will see, how do you deal with those kind of things? Can I even trust my friend? I love my friend. I need to support my friend. I mean, there's so many different issues that are going to come up that Jax is going to have to deal with. And how is that going to affect the relationship and all of the Ladera ladies?
They have, just a bit of a tenuous relationship at times, throwing little jabs here, little things that are unhealed that can happen when you have, your friendships that last over time. There's always those little things. And so I think that Ramla Muhammad, the showrunner creator, she has set up, this story in this way where it would be the friend that you have the most, kind of tension with at times, who is at this point of need, and it also happens that it's at Jax's lowest time right now, so we get to see how all of that will play out. Can it even play out, It creates a lot of drama for the rest of the season, I will say.
Season 2, there's a whole different type of trauma that we're dealing with, and this is an issue, Megan, that I think a lot of people can relate to. It's abuse that kind of hides in plain sight, and that abuse when it's close to home. Sometimes it's in the home, but here it is. Jax is one of her best friends, one of the Ladera ladies. How's she going to manage her friendship, professionally, her own relationship with what she's just gone through? It's going to affect Jax on so many different levels.
She's certainly not coping at the high level that she was at before. And that's difficult for her. She doesn't know what to do with that because Jax is defined by her ability to keep the train moving. And so the train is not moving as quickly, and it's kind of diverted to a different track. And, so she's struggling with that. And it's great that we get to see how that plays out, in real time for her and her world and how it's affecting everything, and making her question her own judgment at times.
She's got to repair her marriage. She's got to repair herself, her relationship with her children is even kind of off, and her relationship with work. So Jax, she's trying to take her time in the beginning, but what are we going to do? We're not going to allow Jax to just rest, right, as storytellers, so we have to throw a lot of things in the mix. But you're going to see this season is a lot about healing and repairing while the world is going crazy.
I think both of our characters tend to act first, ask questions later when it comes to Jax. So I think we're cautious around her coming back because something so traumatic happened to her at the end of season 1 that I feel like our characters really sort of tiptoe around Jax coming back. So how do we support her? We're checking in a little more with each other to be like, did you see that? Yeah. I saw that. Should we keep going?
Yeah. It's almost like she's like our mommy.
Yeah, she's a light in our character's life. No matter how complicated the relationship is, we love her.
And she brings us together.
She 100% tries to be the therapist in our life, our character's lives, 100%. But she's light, and we love her, and we would do anything for her. So we want her to be good.
Ramla Muhammad, our showrunner, she always saw the relationship as a love story in reverse, is kind of how she described it and how she wanted to that's how she saw the show as a whole, So it's interesting to see them pick up the pieces, try to navigate that, move forward. It's something that, I think a lot of people will be able to relate to. Not only relate to, but they will love seeing those two on screen and some of the fireworks they're going to create this season. It's very cool.
I think a lot of it starts with trying to figure out where they are. Like, where are we after all these things, both together and individually? Because to be in a relationship and then to be betrayed, you've been kind of living with the approximation of a fool's paradise, where everything you've kind of built to believe might actually be wrong. So now it's also reconciling where Lewis is honestly present and where he might be in positions where he's maybe fighting an idea that he created. And how does that reconcile in terms of trying to, repair this relationship and at the same time still be a father to my kids and being present professionally at the job. So there's a lot going on.
It's a bit of a roller coaster. It's a bit of a roller coaster. And if you saw season 1, you understand why. There's a lot to repair in this relationship. There's a lot that we don't even understand, And there's not just two parties involved. There's ghosts in this relationship because of what happened in the past. There are things that may emerge that we don't know. Spoiler alert. That are going to happen. Anytime you're dealing with a relationship, it's never a straight line. And that's one of the things that we really enjoy doing on this show, is showing that kind of jagged line that relationships go through.
Every human alive comes into communion with the truth of the people that they're around if it contradicts the idea you created for them. So a lot of it first is like this shock of like, oh man, this person isn't present anymore. But then there's also, it's a really good question because it begins to ask the question of Lewis's ability to actually differentiate between making choices for things that are good for him and choices that aren't. And I think that begins to get reflected over the course of the season as well. But I think, the relationship with JT was a friendship for sure, but at the same time, it's like, okay, how do you define your friendship, and at what point do you realize you may not have known as much? And again, all that still comes back to like, I'm being asked to stand on a puzzle piece as Lewis in this world, but I'm also still trying to ask to reconcile everything that's happened in her life and JT's and everything else. So it's really good writing, and if I sound confused, it's because it's meant to be.
That's the thing about an issue like abuse. I like to say when it hides in plain sight, it affects everybody in different ways, And Lewis has to deal with it from a whole different perspective that Jax does. But one of the things we try to do in this season is really focus more on the Lewis-Jax relationship because of all that, as opposed to isolating that Lewis reaction to that sort of thing. And that's what gets interesting. How do you stay supportive in all this when maybe you have questions about it? Maybe your questions are different than that. First of all, having Morris Chestnut on your show is so amazing. We're all just fans and everything. But just his energy on the show shakes things up. His energy coming into that law firm, the type of lawyer that he is, he's a no-nonsense, and he knows how to use the press in a way that maybe they haven't been using, relationships and all that kind of stuff. And who knows, now Jax has someone else in her orbit, and we'll just see what happens.
Corey Cash laughs at my jokes. Corey Cash thinks I'm cool. So Daniel is like over the moon. He's like, finally get some like male energy to match my male alpha energy. Someone's got my back. So I think Daniel thinks like the coolest guy in the world thinks I'm cool. This is, I was never, I didn't think it could get better in The Office, but now, I love it.
The fact that he's joining the firm, that in itself, and we know where Jax is, just mentally and trying to find her way back to herself. We know that that's going to be a challenge because Jax is not going to just let anyone come and unseat her in any kind of way. But at the same time, she's not fully herself, so that is going to inherently just present a particular challenge for her.
I think Corey's, Corey comes to stir the pot a little bit, but he comes with a resume and a reputation in the business that's necessary for this part of the story. But I think that in any situation that makes this very human is that no matter how confident and secure you are in any relationship, no matter what they're doing, when that gets disrupted and another element comes in, there's always this thing like, well, wait a minute, I haven't even reconciled what I thought we were before the last thing happened. Now I got to deal with it. And then I still don't know, the communication between us is off, and we have 2 kids and there's these jobs. So it's like, again, there's lots of stuff going on, and Corey is the perfect person to kind of come in and stir things up this season for sure.